Welcome, everybody, to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by the Hockey Think Tank, you, an online hockey community for all players, parents, and coaches to go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. If you're new to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, what is Hockey Think Tank U? It's an online community, like I said, where you get exclusive Hockey Think Tank resource or video every single day, whether it's Mindset Monday to help you be at your best for the week, or Tactics Tuesday, where I get up to a whiteboard or drop some drills or some practice plans or some tactics to help you better understand the X's and O's of the game. Parent Thursday to get unbiased guidance to help you navigate the youth hockey journey for your child. There's literally something for everyone in Hockey Think Tank U. And if you love the podcast, we've gone back and taken the best clips from our 7+ years and it's all in one place in Hockey Think Tank U. And it's all categorized into buckets for players, coaches, and parents, and just youth hockey leadership in general. Also, one of my favorite parts of Hockey Think Tank U is to have a two-way conversation on this podcast. It's just Vex and I speaking at you, but this gives me the chance to actually speak with you and answer your questions. Half an hour every week, I hop on a Zoom for anybody that wants in the community. We can talk some shop. If you're a parent, I can help answer your questions. And I really, really, really enjoy that. And it seems like the people who are in Hockey Think Tank, you enjoy that as well. So we got over 250 people already in Hockey Think Tank U, sharing their knowledge and perspective with each other and gaining some even more insight from some of my best friends in the game. We do a monthly masterclass that got a big announcement coming up on the next monthly masterclass. We'll do that next week. It's going to be a really, really fun one. Somebody who may or may not have been one of the best players in college hockey last year, but we'll wait. We'll wait a tick. We don't have the date fully confirmed yet, but gonna happen. And guys, the last thing with Hockey Think Tank U is, again, we do not want to price anybody out of doing anything here in this sport. And so if you want to support what we do, the cost for the year is about half a hockey stick, under $200. But if you cannot afford that, we will give it to you for free. Just let us know. Shoot me a DM on Twitter or on Instagram or on Facebook, and we'll give it to you for free. So there's going to be a link at the bottom of the show notes here to join if you want to do that. That is Hockey Think Tank U. Our guest today, one of my favorite conversations that we've had in the 7.5 years that we have been doing this. Just an absolutely incredibly inspirational person that you guys are going to meet here when we get to him. But we got Jake Thibeault on the podcast, and Jake is a kid from Boston, Massachusetts, was a really good youth hockey player, and then gets to high school and he's playing in the fall and had an unfortunate accident on the ice that left him paralyzed, from the waist down, and obviously ended his hockey career. But really, really cool. The head coach at Babson, Jamie Rice, who has been on the podcast, one of the best guys in the game. He was talking to him in the recruiting process at the time that this was happening, and he actually brought Jake on to be a part of the team at Babson College out there in Boston. And so he's been there for the past 4 years, just graduated, up to unbelievable things right now. And this was, again, like I said, one of my favorite conversations that we had. Before we do get over to Jake, though, let's bring on the talent of the podcast, the one Jeffrey J. Hulavecchio. Vex, what's going on today, brother?
Not much, buddy. Just got back in town. Actually, it's pretty cool. This past weekend, one of my pro guys, played in the NHL a bit last year. Cole McWard asked me to officiate his wedding. So I was out in Cleveland, beautiful Cleveland, Ohio, over the weekend with another one of my pro guys, Jakob Dobish, goalie for the Montreal Canadiens, and we were there celebrating Wardo's wedding. And first time any of my clients have asked me to do that, so it was like the biggest honor ever. Little bit of a battle getting out there in the middle of busy season for me with a 7.5 month pregnant wife, but made it work. Was hoping she was gonna be able to join. She couldn't. So went out there solo. My date was Dobie, I guess. And we had a great time, man.
What was your first line? How'd you get the crowd into it?
Well, I did the, I said, okay, you may be seated. Then I went, oh, wait. Everybody stand back up. I forgot something. and everybody stood back up and they're like, what? This is, I could see their faces like, oh my God, this isn't a good start. And I was like, this is the power that Wardo invested in me today. So you guys just remember that. Everybody sit back down. And everybody started laughing. It kind of broke the ice. I did call them two sexy puzzle pieces that fit together in the ceremony at one point. And the only person whose eyes I locked with was like
Dad?
one of their grandmas who was like on oxygen in the front row. And I was like, oh, I hope that she laughed at that. But I was told it's a very lighthearted, very fun group who likes to laugh. So I threw some fun stuff in there, but I think it went well. And, they both had a good time, and they got married. They said yes. They said I do. So I guess I did my job.
That's the big one. They said yes. That works.
There we go.
That's awesome. I spent the weekend out in Los Angeles.
Oh
yeah. I've been there before, but hadn't spent some time there. It was like unbelievable, man.
Are you trying on some Air Bombay coaching shoes?
Oh yeah.
It's a coaching
distraction in a fire in a barrel.
It's a coaching loafer for kids who want to coach.
Oh my God. Anyways, but it was really cool, dude. So I went in, my cousin Tyler, who, other side of the family, he lives out there. So I got to see him and my uncle Steve and Aunt Christine. So that was nice, but it was really cool, man. Like I flew in, I did a hike out in like Santa Monica, which was beautiful because like in LA, like you get up to the top and you look one way and you see the ocean, you look the other way and you see the city. Like they're that close to each other. It's like, and it's in the mountain, right? It's just like beautiful. And then I did some like touristy stuff. I actually went to go see like what Rodeo Drive looked like.
Yeah.
So like walked on Rodeo Drive and then actually crazy. So I'm driving to like the Walk of Fame where they have all the handprints, And so I'm going out there like total tourist. And then I drive by the Improv. You ever heard of the Improv? It's like a big comedy club out there that like a ton of really big comics. It's got like the brick wall in the back. For those that don't know, you've probably seen a clip of like Seinfeld or, some of those other people. And I'm driving by and it's like 7 p.m. and I'm like, man, I wonder if there's like a show going on. And sure enough, there was a show at 7:30. And so you'll appreciate this. So I get in and I'm by myself. Right. And so first of all, the headliner for the day was Craig Robinson. You know who Craig Robinson is?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Big guy from The Office, Eastbound and Down, all that. Like he's hilarious. But I get in there and I'm sitting by myself. So they're like, oh, there's a spot up in the front row. Do you want it? And I was like, I do not want to sit in the front row of a comedy show. No. And they were like, oh, come on. Like you'll be fine, whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'll sit in the front row. So I sit in the front row and this comedian comes on and it was, oh my God, dude. It was like so funny. This like older guy, he's probably in his 70s, but he's like sarcastic and whatever. And I'm wearing my good hat, the hat that says good. So he gets up in the front row and he just starts giving me crap about my hat. And it was like really funny. And then he goes, and then the worst part is he's like, what do you do for a living? And it's really hard for me to talk to people who don't know me about like what I'm like, oh, I run this company called the Hockey Think Tank. We do a lot of hockey education and blah, 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 blah. So I just went with hockey coach. And he's like, oh, you're a hockey coach. And then he starts giving me crap about that. And then he asked the one question that I was begging him not to ask me in my head. And that was, what team do you coach? And I don't actually coach a team. So I kind of like paused and I was like, I don't really coach a team. And then he's like, oh, we have a guy who wears a good hat who I guess it's not that good. It's just like, it was really, really funny. So he keeps giving me crap and I'm just like sweating bullets, but it's like really funny too. And it was really funny. And then I was like, oh, I guess I'm trying to figure out like how to explain this guy in like 4 seconds what I do. And so he's like, come on, like, what does this mean? I'm like, I guess, I coach. I was like, I coach coaches. And he's like, oh, you coach coaches, do you? Oh, like you don't think the coaches are good enough? Like it was just, it was hilarious. So he got me pretty good. The Improv was really, really funny, but I was out there to help work a camp with Brett Beebe. So one of the favorite guests that we've ever had on this podcast. He runs a camp in the summer for kids out there in LA. That's where he's from and does a phenomenal job and got to reconnect with some hockey guys that I hadn't seen in a long time. And one of the guys that was there, Vex, Lee Mendelson, said to say hello.
Oh, so he's blast from the past.
Yeah, blast from the past there in St. Louis. A lot of other really good hockey guys too that were there. And so it just like refills my cup being able to be around like really good hockey people who care and I can learn from, and just like, it was a really cool. So job well done, Brett Beebe, Rad Hockey. And yeah, we should get him back on the podcast at some point. He was like one of those guests that everybody was like, this dude's the man.
Can't have him out there on here enough. I mean, every time I've talked to that guy, it's nothing but gold.
Yeah. Absolute gold. Okay. So next thing that we're going to do here is we do this every week now. I'm going to play a clip that we put in our Hockey Think Tank community. And it's this clip, guys. And again, you get a piece of content, whether it's a video, whether it's a drill, whether it's some advice, whatever, every day in Hockey Think Tank You. And this one is from Paul Caulfield. So Paul Caulfield, the dad of 50 goal scorer in the NHL, Cole Caulfield. And he's been a guest on the podcast. He's been a guest on our Hockey Think Tank You monthly masterclass as well. And this is Paul here, and he's talking about the role of unstructured play in hockey, and just as a little bit of a intro to this. So Paul runs a rink in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. So he's got access to the rink. He runs the rink and has coached so many kids that have gone up and through. He also has an older son, Nicole, that was a really good hockey player, played a little bit of pro, played at the University of Wisconsin as well. And so this is Paul.
I'd peek out in there and see what they were doing, and they always doing something. They were always working on something, and they loved being out there. And what I liked the most is I had to go, hey, let's go. I had to get them off the ice. They didn't want to come off the ice. So that to me, I liked. I knew they weren't burnt out. Because kids nowadays, they'd be the first one off the ice and the last one on the ice. I don't like seeing that. They just worked on what they wanted to work on, and they played goofy games, hitting posts, hitting crossbars, shooting at cones. Whatever they were doing, it was something unique and different. They'd make up games themselves out there. So they entertained each other, and, a lot of it has to do with my older son, that he kind of pushed him a little harder, and, they get underneath their skin like that, being really competitive.
I just love that clip. So they have, rat ice, and we've talked about like having unstructured time for rinks for kids to just go out there and kind of play. And it's just really cool for kids to go out there. And he mentioned how much it developed a love for the game that they have, right? Like he had to pull them off the ice rather than tell them to get on the ice. Talk about like making up games, being creative, talk about competitiveness. They were going against each other, him and his brother and anybody else that was out there. And just like, there's so much value. And again, like being out in LA this week, just talking hockey with some really, really smart hockey guys at the college level, at the junior level and beyond. And there's not a lot of like creative hockey players out there anymore. Like, everybody's a robot. Everybody just does the same stuff. And like scouts like love to watch kids who can color outside the lines a little bit. They can find a way in an unstructured situation to pull up and find a late guy, or to manipulate time and space. And that's like stuff you learn from just playing unstructured hockey. And so like we need to find more time to let kids play instead of always coaching them. And I think this is a really good clip that we had there in Hockey Think Tank You, just on that in and of itself. So Paul Caulfield, great clip there talking about Cole and his other boy in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. Thoughts on that, Vex? Like, I just think it's really good.
Yeah, dude. And this is one of the main reasons that I'm such a massive proponent for playing other sports for all athletes at a young age. Yeah. And or even when you're a current hockey player. It's why we play a game every single Friday in my gym. And I try to do some type of game every day that requires some type of skill. And a lot of them, I encourage thinking outside the box and trying new things. Like a lot of my guys aren't good at basketball. We're not playing basketball to make you better at basketball. I'm playing basketball because I want you to throw a pass behind your back, to dribble it through your legs while trying to get around somebody and pull up and take a shot and feel what it feels like to try new and creative things. I want you to play to win, but like, I'm not making you play basketball to play to win the basketball game. I want you to work on using both hands and passing it off the wall if you wind up getting stuck somewhere, and having fun and being creative. Exactly what you're saying, thinking outside the lines, and rat ice and time to yourself, and playing in the basement with your buddies and coming up with your own games and playing different sports. These are all things that enhance that part of your brain that allows you to start thinking and gamifying things. Yep. And if you never do that, you're never going to acquire those skills.
Yeah, stuff's so important, man. So thanks to Paul again, hopping on the podcast and being part of Hockey Think Tank you there. And so yeah. All right. Now we have some people to thank before we do get over to our guests. First and foremost, want to thank our title sponsor, icehockeysystems.com, the best website out there for all your coaching education needs. They got thousands of drills, guys, that you can choose from to help with your practice plans. They got whiteboard explanations and video breakdowns from really, really smart hockey people from every single level of hockey. The ability to go in, draw your drills up, and create a library. We've partnered with them to do an associations platform where you can get this for every single coach in your organization. Talk about incredible to like just build an association drill library, practice plan library. Just insane, especially for the volunteer type coaches that don't have the time to draw that stuff up. Boom, Ice Hockey Systems, unbelievable. They also now have family accounts, so it's not just the best website out there for your coaching education needs, but a lot of great content on their site for players and for parents as well. So go to icehockeysystems.com and check those out today, Vex.
Massive thank you to Train Heroic. Keep it short here. You guys know Train Heroic's the amazing platform that has allowed me to work with 34,000+ athletes online over the last 6 years. Doesn't matter if you're a team, you're an organization, you're an academy, which I'm working with a couple academies this year online for all of their training at the academy. If you want consulting for the gym in your rink, like reach out. Train Heroic makes all of this possible. So a massive thank you to Train Heroic.
Also want to thank our pals over at Helios Hockey, one of the best hockey development tools out there for anybody that wants to get better at the game. What is Helios Hockey? Helios Hockey is a sensor that you put into your shoulder pads. It gives you real-time data and feedback on your play. And the kids love two things especially. Number one is a hustle score. So every time you move, that thing lights up, can tell you how fast you're going, can tell you a lot of different things about how hard you're working, can compare yourself to your teammates and other people at your age group that have it. And the kids absolutely love that part of it. And also skating development. They got a lot of tools on there to help you break down your skating and a lot of things that can help you with that development there. So go to helioshockey.com today. The kicker with this, though, is that it syncs up with your video, whatever you're using, Live Barn, iPad, iPhone, camera, whatever. It can sync up to that, and you can get your shifts or your reps in practice cut up for you, and it's ready for you directly after the game. So just an unbelievable time saver and incredible value for anybody out there. So go to helioshockey.com today and use the coupon code ThinkTank, one word, and you will get a 20% discount on your Pro Annual or your Pro 24-month subscription. And guys, lastly, want to thank you, our amazing listeners. We love you guys so much. And I'm not even going to get into the stuff that like you can help us with as far as like interacting with our podcast. I want to get over to Jake Thibeault because this conversation was just absolutely incredible. Like, you're going to be inspired. It's going to make you a better person. Jake's the man. And without further ado, here we go with Jake Thibeault. We are so excited to have on this episode of the podcast. He's out in Fitchburg, Mass. We got Jake Thibeault. Jake, how we doing today, brother?
I'm doing great. I really appreciate you guys having me on. It means a lot.
You bet. And you're just a couple weeks, month or so removed from graduating college, Babson College out there in Massachusetts. How you feeling, man? It's always like a crazy kind of like window of time between like when real life starts and when college ends. So how's that been going?
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. It's definitely, I don't think it's hit me yet. Still kind of feeling like I'm in that summer stage and getting ready to go back to school in August. But I think once I start really getting into the real world, it'll hit me in the college days or that chapter's closed. But it was a heck of a journey and really some of the 4 best years of my life. And just honored to go to Babson, honored to be a part of the school, the team, just everything about it. I'm in debt forever to Babson. So truly was an amazing 4 years that I'll forever cherish.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, I want to get to your Babson days at some point, but first, just to kind of introduce you to our listeners here, it's the first question we ask everybody, and that's, how'd you fall in love with the great game of hockey? And I've got to see some videos and obviously know your story, and hockey was a big part of your childhood growing up. Sounds like it was kind of a lucky little walk by the TV when the Bruins were playing when you were a little guy. But how did you fall in love with this great game?
Yeah, it's funny. I kind of had a little bit of an unorthodox path to hockey. My dad grew up in a military family, was born in California, lived in Japan, lived, kind of all over. And hockey was never really in the realm of his life. And he really didn't have anything, to do with it. Didn't really know the sport, played football, played collegiately. My mom was a figure skater. She grew up kind of around the rinks. And my grandfather, my mom's dad, was the local hockey coach here in Fitchburg for the high school for many years. So, I didn't really necessarily have hockey directly within my parents. And my brother played college basketball, was a big basketball guy. But I just, going back to what you mentioned, I'll never forget, like, I'm still a kid. I can't sit still. Like, even though I'm in a wheelchair, I'm not sitting still. Like, these wheels are always moving, literally and figuratively. And so I just kind of was always on the go. I loved the kind of competitiveness of sports, the teamwork, the camaraderie, all of that. And when I was about 3 or 4, I was just kind of running around the house and stop foot in my tracks with my parents at the Bruins on. And it was, I say it often, but kind of like that love at first sight, and just saw the sport, saw the fast pace, the physicality, all of it. And I was like, holy cow, like that's something I could see myself doing. And my mom and dad, got me on skates because I, wanted to get out there and experience it. And I did learn to skate here in Fitchburg, and just, the game became so much part of my identity very quick. And I fell in love with it, at such a young age. And then it took me in so many different directions, but that was kind of the start of it. And then, I grew up going to my grandfather's practices and, being around the rink and watching, the high school guys. Topher, as you mentioned, like Fitchburg State's right down the road from me. And like Dean Fuller, who's the head coach over there, and literally a grandfather to me, pretty much. He wouldn't like me to age him like that, but he's been there for, literally over 40, 43, 45 years. And I just grew up going to watch those games. And like, at such a young age, you think you're watching the NHL, and you think you're watching, like, you're dreaming of playing collegiately, you're dreaming of playing in the NHL and reaching the highest level you possibly can. And I just, was something that I just always just wanted to be at the rink. When times were tough or, mentally, like, I'd just go skate. Like, it was just my out to everything. And it's still a major part of my identity, but that's kind of the starting point of my journey. And it took me so many places in this world that I'm sure we'll get into. But
for sure. I want to stop here really quick though, because I feel like what you just described is what we have lost a little bit in the hockey world. That community, that, being a rink rat, like, just, it takes a village to raise a kid type of thing. And with the hyper professionalization at such young ages, like, it's become so much about the individual, and we've kind of lost that. How, let me ask you this, like, how did that community contribute to you becoming an elite hockey player? Before you got injured, you were on the path to playing college hockey, going through some college visits and playing at a high level, playing at Milton Academy, which is one of the top prep schools out in Boston. How do you feel like, now obviously you had a little bit of an in with your grandfather, but like, how did that environment help you to develop your skills and mentality and all that as a hockey player?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think, to your point, like, I think there's a large lack of loyalty nowadays. And my mom and dad really instilled in me and my brother, like, being loyal to your team, being loyal to the journey, being loyal to the work and the grind and whatever that is. And, I played town here at Fitchburg for a while. And then I had the opportunity to go play, club AAA in Worcester, Massachusetts. And it was a really hard decision. Like, I knew I was around the age of 9-10 years old. And I knew that was the next step to, like, want to go reach those goals that I mentioned of playing college and NHL and whatever it was as a little kid. But at the same time, like, I love the friends I have. I love the coaches I had. And I knew, like, I wanted to be loyal to them, but at the same time, like if I wanted to take that next step, like this was part of the journey. And then, so I had the opportunity in Worcester. At the time, it was the Worcester Junior Sharks. And I went over there, and it was some of the best years of my life playing hockey. And I was loyal to that. And there was opportunities that I maybe could have gone and explored for, higher level organizations as time went on or whatnot. But it just went back to that idea of like, I was in a great situation with great people, great opportunities to learn the game, to learn the ability to compete more, the ability to put in your work. And I think, I've been removed from the game. I shouldn't say been removed. Like I'm still really, the game is always going to be part of my life, but I'm not around the rinks as much as I used to be. I still, like during the season at Babson, I was at the rink every week and, almost every day and trying to be there as much as I could. But I always hear about like this, individuals going from team to team to team year after year to try to reach their goals. And that's everyone's choice. And I wish them well, but I think there is something to really be said about sticking with a good group of people that, are going to push you to be your best. I think, a big reason why I wanted to try to get to Milton Academy was I wanted to be around an environment where people to my left and right wanted to be better than me and wanted to push me to be the best version I could be, whether that's on the ice, in the classroom, whatever it was. And I think like when you have a group that sticks together for a while, and there's still some of that, but I think it's less than what it was, 10 years ago, but it's still present in some areas. But I think that there's definitely, there's something to be said for sure about, having a team stick together. We were just joking, not to go on a tangent, but, we were from Central Massachusetts. A lot of us, we grew up playing together for Worcester for so many years. And we went out to Chicago. It was like the CCM Invitational. This was, I forget, but we're playing the, Florida Alliances, Bell Tires, all these teams. And, we were not like nationally ranked like them. And we put up a fight, and I think we lost in the semis in that tournament. And we were joking that we were like the bad news bears. Like everyone's pulling up in coach buses. And here we are from Worcester, like pulling up in, ripped sweats and, sweatshirts and, but that's who we were. Like we, still some of my best of friends that we played hockey together growing up from such a young age. And a lot of those guys have gone on to play college, and I think there's just something to be said about that for sure.
Totally, man. I was out in Minnesota not too long ago and gave a speech on like the power of playing for something bigger than you. And in Minnesota, they do that still in spades. Boston, it's kind of dissipated a little bit. I agree. There's still a little bit of it there, but like, I think if you want to develop better hockey players, that stuff's really important. Like caring about the logo, caring about your teammates, that makes practices better. There's more competition. There's more pride when you play, when you have rivalries too, and other towns are doing that. And like the games mean more, that's player development at the end of the day. And so I love to hear that you had such just like a cool experience with a group of people kind of all the way up. Like that's pretty cool. Vex, you had that, right? Like you in St. Louis, you kind of had a group that kind of stuck together for a long time. And
we didn't
have
a
group that like
we didn't have options here really either. There was only one AAA team, but like I love the other part of what you're saying too, is that like, we see it in college hockey now, like, oh, I'm not getting enough playing time, I'm looking elsewhere. I'm not going to dig in, find a way to get better, find a way to earn more playing time, find a way to add value to this team, this university, this locker room, and I'm just going to go find somewhere else that's going to give it to me right away. And I don't know, I think maybe that's a little bit of a snapshot of our society right now at the moment, just like always looking for greener pastures instead of like be where your feet are and make this work. I'm not saying there shouldn't ever be any like moving somewhere. This, like I had to leave St. Louis because we had nobody doing off ice training when I was a kid, and I went and lived with Toph my sophomore year of high school, because like we had zero options for that. There was none of it. And I hated that I had to leave. I did not want to leave. And I went back and forth for so long. Should I leave? Should I not? But every coach, every scout was like, you're weak. You need to get in the gym. No matter what, that's the most important thing for you. So I had to leave. But other than that, like what you're saying about all these things, I think the other piece of that too is like the life lesson of find a way where you're at to make it work. I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And, I think too, like you make a great point, Vex. Like there's going to be situations where you have to get out and you have to move on. And, I forget who said it to me once, but it's something to be said. Like if you dominate at one level, like I think there's areas where, I'm not saying I ever dominated by any means, but there's areas where, I think a lot of kids are just so fast to try to keep going and going and going that they're not having that idea of like, hey, I need to be the best I can at this. And then I'll leave, and then I keep going. But I completely agree. There's areas that, I think you have no option. You do have to go explore to get to that stage.
Right.
Yep. All right, so let's get to your journey here, Jake. And, for those that are listening that have not seen or heard Jake on other podcasts or some of the other cool things that he's done, your story had a very sudden turn, to say the least. And you're in the midst of playing hockey in the fall in 2021. You're going on college visits. I didn't even realize until I was looking at it the other day that you visited Babson less than a week before you got injured. But just take us through kind of what happened and just kind of like your immediate, holy crap, my life has just changed moment, if you can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. One thing I always talk about, and you hear the word a lot that I use is kind of journey. And, I think everyone has their own individual journey. And then there's ways that journeys bring people together. There's ways that journeys kind of, have ebbs and flows and different moments and good and bad and whatnot. And like you said, Toph, I was, the dream of that little kid that was shooting pucks in the backyard until the neighbors were yelling at him. And the dream of reaching college hockey, like it was right at the front doorstep. I had gotten my feet in. I went to Milton Academy as a repeat sophomore, had a decent year. My sophomore year, the team had a really good year, but I didn't really feel like I was a massive contributor to the team that year. So I went to my coach Kanata at Milton, who's still a dear friend of mine, and asked him kind of, hey, how can I go get better? How can I be a better contributor to this team? I want to have a larger role. And he gave me a list, A to Z. He said, go work on this. He gave me some people to get in touch with. And I just went to work. And then COVID hit. And I didn't look, we all know COVID. I don't think we have to talk about it, but a time of uncertainty for everyone. And I didn't look at COVID really as a time to, dwell on it or whatnot. I kind of saw it as a time to get a step on everyone else trying to compete to be a college hockey player. And so whether that was, shooting pucks, running around the neighborhood, running hills in my neighborhood, lifting weights in my basement, like doing whatever I could just to gain that edge. And then when the rinks opened up, getting on the ice as much as I possibly could. And I really developed that year. I think it taught me a lot, and I quite frankly might have got on the ice more than any other year in my life during COVID once they started opening. And so fast forward to the summer of 2021, and I'm just getting ready to go into my senior year. And Coach Kanata had really seen the progress and was vouching for me to coaches. And I had been going on some visits and, different camps and whatnot. And I had the opportunity to go to see Coach Rice and see Babson. And it was one of those things that, like, right when I walked in the room, you just felt it. You just felt like it was an environment you want to be a part of. As I mentioned before, that environment of person to your left and right being better than you and pushing you and keeping, carrying you when you're down and, pushing you forward when you're up and keeping you moving forward. And I just felt that. And Coach Rice, I could go on for hours about the individual he is and the human he is, but he just sat down with my dad and I, and we talked, and he showed me around, and I really got a feel of what that environment was. And so fast forward a few days, I'm still in touch with Coach Rice and really, wanting to get to Babson, and just, it was everything I was looking for. And then it was Labor Day weekend, and, beautiful weekend, end of the summer, everyone's in, that kind of get back into school, and I'm getting ready to start my senior year, and I was going to have a leadership role on the team at Milton, and things were just really like coming to the forefront. Those goals that I had set are slowly getting checked off, and I'm feeling really good. The best I've ever felt as a hockey player, the best I've ever felt, in many different situations. It was just like the stars were all aligning. And then September 4th, 2021, beautiful day outside. It's one of those days you can remember everything. I had 2 games, and I was playing for the Boston Bulldogs, which was kind of like a half-season team of Milton Academy, Tabor Academy, and then a Severian guy and a couple of BC High guys. And so we had an unbelievable group of guys, just, great group that was looking to get better, looking to, reach our goals. And it was great. So we played that Friday, and then that Saturday, September 4th, we had 2 games. We played at 11 o'clock in the morning at Marlborough, and then our next game was down in Hopedale, just, like 30 minutes down 495 from Marlborough. And my dad and I got some lunch at D'Angelo's. It's one of,
yes. That was a frequent stop of mine when I was recruiting out in New England. Great subs.
Yeah. No, I could tell you exactly what I ate. There's no need for me to tell you, but it's one of those days you just remember everything. And my dad and I got to the rink at Hopedale a little early, and we were throwing a football around and killing some time. And then all the boys start to trickle in, and, I do what I did before every game: stretch, take my stick, just bunch of things that you guys know are just kind of the norm and kind of the ritual before a game. And we took the ice and we went up big pretty early. And I came down and kind of cut to the middle, scored a goal from like the left hash, and then went back to the face-off. And when I went back to the face-off, I won the puck back to my defenseman, and I kind of curled up the right side of the ice. And when I curled up the right side of the ice, I say it as, when I took that step up the right side of the ice and got the pass from my defenseman, everything I'd worked for 18 years came up the right side of the ice with me. All the times of shooting pucks in the yard, working on a farm growing up, going to the gym, skating early in the morning, all of that came up the right side of the ice with me. And when I went up the right side of the ice, I was going full speed, and the defenseman came to play me. And when he came to play me, I made a pass to the middle, and I kind of opened my chest to the center of the ice, and I was kind of right at the right hash. And when I made the pass, the defenseman came to engage with me, and we were both going full speed, and very clean hit. I can't say that enough. And it was just 2 guys going full speed, and we went full speed into the corner on the right side of the ice. And I hit the boards, and it was the corner right where my dad was standing. He was standing on the glass. Like, my dad was a big kind of just stand in the corner quietly, watch the game. He was standing right on the glass at the corner, literally could have reached through the glass and grabbed me. And I hit the boards hard. And I woke up 2 days later. And, when I hit the boards, my life changed for sure. But I often, and I truly believe this, not to make me sleep well at night. Like, I had, for 18 years, I had chosen my journey. I had chosen where I wanted to go as a hockey player. I had chosen where I wanted to go, academically, as a person, whatever. And a lot of people had helped me and still help me, but those 18 years especially. But when I hit those boards, that kind of idea of like choosing my journey, it kind of switched, and the journey chose me. And so when I hit the boards, I was completely unresponsive, seized right away because I hit my head as well. Advanced life support was sent to the rink. I got rushed to UMass Memorial Hospital, where I was immediately rushed into the trauma unit, went into surgery within hours. And they stabilized my spine from T6 to T10 because I had broken my T7 and T8 vertebrae, and they had kind of compressed into my spinal cord, which resulted in paralysis from the waist down. But I'll never forget that when I woke up and kind of came to it, my first memory was I was laying in the hospital bed, tubes in and out of me, monitors going off. And my mom was holding my hand to the right. My brother was at the foot of my bed. My dad was to the right of my mom. And then there was 3 doctors to my left. And I woke up and I kind of said to my doc, like, what happened? I was just skating down the ice. And he said, Jake, you've been involved in a serious hockey accident. I said, okay. I said, what do you mean? And he said, you'll most likely never walk again. 18 years old. I'm getting ready to move back to high school to play my senior year of hockey, to go play college hockey, go put on a Babson uniform, go, be the college hockey player I've dreamt to be. And here's this guy that I've never met in my life tell me I'm not going to walk again. Like, I'm sorry. That's not to buddy him, but I'm sorry, buddy. That's just not going to happen. And I said to him, and I will say, I don't like BS. I don't like hypocrites. Like, the first words out of my mouth were, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to go to war with this. And, here we are. September will mark 5 years. And when I leave this, I'm going to drive down to Canton where I do my rehab, and I'm going to fight paralysis as hard as I can for 3 hours like I do every day. But that phrase, and, I'll get into it more, but that phrase of I'm ready to fight, that promise, I shouldn't even call it a phrase, really, that promise has really been ingrained in me with everything I do in life. My mentality, I think, has maybe been seen and hopefully been able to help people now, but it's been the same way my entire life. It goes back to my parents instilling in my brother and I, like, you want something, you go work for it. You go carve your path, you go carve your journey. And, I've always embraced being the underdog and embraced the grind. I still, I love to grind. I love to work out. I love to, compete like as hard as I can for anything. And now the odds are stacked against me, and I love grinding it, and I love just working as hard as I possibly can. But that was kind of definitely a day, that I'll always remember. And, September 4th, I don't look at now as a day of remembrance of my life changing. I look at it as more of a progress report. Every year I look back on September 4th and I think to myself, what did you do this year to make yourself better? And that idea of I'm ready to fight, that was also a promise to me to live the fullest life possible. Just as much as I'm fighting paralysis every day, I have goals. I have goals that I had prior to my injury, and I have goals that are maybe even bigger now post-injury, but that I still want to reach, and I still want to live the damn fullest life possible. But I do know that, hard, I say this with an emphasis, and I live by it, and I try to tell people this often, hard, great things can't be done alone. I think if you want to be you guys know you've played at a higher level than I ever did in hockey. I don't want to speak for you, but I don't think you would have played at that level without help, and I think that's true to anything in life. You want to accomplish something great, it takes a village, and it takes a lot of people helping each other to make others' lives better. And quite frankly, I think that's why we're all here on this earth, is to make others' lives better. And it's a lot of, when I say thousands of people, from the hockey community to the Fitchburg community to the Milton Academy community to now the Babson community to, I was getting messages from all over the world, and I still do. I just received a letter from a lady who heard my talk at graduation that I've never met, just in the mail. You just get, it's just, people are, really helping me fight the fight and live life still. And I'm forever grateful for that. But, in the end, even if you get the help, it's up to you to put in the work. And I'm blessed I have that opportunity.
Oh boy.
Woo.
Sorry, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Vex, you, for everybody that's kind of listening and not watching here, Vex, you had a pretty emotional reaction to the last 4 or 5 minutes or so. I think I know part of that, but what's going on with you, man? What's coming up?
Well, first of all, it's powerful. How you talk about it is extremely powerful. How you not frame it, how you look at it, the way that you think about it. I mean, it's very powerful. It's unbelievable, man. But to be honest, Toph, like ever since I've had a kid, like situations hit me differently, and just thinking about being a parent in that situation, it's I can't imagine what your parents went through for those 2 days. Once you wake up and it's okay, this is life here now. Let's attack, like you said. Like I love what you said when you woke up. But as a parent, those 2 days where you were unconscious and going through all those things, I can't imagine the feelings that your parents had. And thank God you're you and you're a fighter and you're clearly a badass. And, I'm sure they had all the faith in the world during that time. But, it's part of our sport too. It's like it's something that's not talked about often. Obviously, it's not something that happens crazy often, but it always is there. And to hear you relive the whole day, step by step too, it's powerful, dude. It's very, very, very powerful.
Jake, let me ask you, because I've seen you say this before, but I think it's something that we all kind of got to talk about. I think we live in a day and age where it's very easy to let extenuating circumstances control us instead of the other way around. And you talked about what it means to continue moving forward when the words of choosing your own journey flip to the journey choosing us. I know you do a lot of talking and speaking with youth teams and programs and all of that. Like, one of the things that's really important is to control what you can control and understand that, like, it's not the things that happen to us, but the way that we choose to respond to the things that happen to us that really, really matters at the end of the day. So can you talk a little bit more about just like this, I'm choosing my journey versus my journey is choosing us, and controlling the things that you can control?
Yeah. I think, one thing I truly believe is like, and I talk about this often when I speak to different people, is there's one word in the dictionary that's undefined, and that's adversity, because we define it. So I think, Travis Roy is a pioneer in this, and he said it first, like, there's areas in life where we choose the journey, and there's areas where the journey chooses us, and how we react to those moments of it choosing us is really what defines us. And, I think that is so true. Like, there's so much in life we can't control. You know what I mean? And, did I expect to be paralyzed at 18 years old, be in a wheelchair for now almost 5 years? And, paralysis, not to sidetrack, paralysis is more than just not being able to walk. There's a lot of different health complications that come with it. And that's all stuff I can't control. But in the end, I can control the person I am, the effort I put into every day, the mentality I bring every day. And the mentality, like, this isn't so that I can sleep well at night, or like, it's truly how I feel. It's easy to speak on this stuff because it's from the heart. And I think it's those moments where you can't control situations or outcomes or whatever it may be, they're tough. I think there's no other way to say it. Like, it's hard. But I think we're always in the driver's seat of what direction we take when that journey flips a little bit, or when that, idea of where the path you're going, whatever that may be. Like, we're in the driver's seat of what we do with that. Maybe the situation of what occurs, we're not necessarily in charge of, but in whatever direction we want to go, like, I can't say it enough. Like, we're in charge of that. And, I think that goes back to, like, yes, you need people to help, support each other and be the best version of ourselves, but you got to be willing to put in the work. Like, going to play college hockey, you're not just going to wake up and be a good hockey player the next day. You're like, you got to go out. You got to want to, reach that level and it's hard, and it's harder every single day. And I think there's areas of, my journey, especially with fighting paralysis, you shoot 1,000 pucks, you're going to be a better shooter. In paralysis, you put in 1,000 hours of work, you might get that much, but then you might put in another 1,000 and you might get this much. Like you never know. And there's a lot of uncertainty, but I think being able to embrace the uncertainty and realize that, whatever direction it goes, you're just going to keep being true to who you are and fighting for what you want. Like you can deal with uncertainty in life.
I think that's so good. And, I think you guys both know I listen to a lot of podcasts, read, and try to figure out this crazy world that we're living in and how I can be of best service to it. And honestly, what you just said there, Jake, is something I'm hearing more and more and more from the highly, highly, highly successful people in the world is like how much success you have is very correlated to how well you can deal with uncertainty. And so much of life is uncertainty because things happen. We're sitting here having a conversation because shitty things happen. And it's really hard to not know what's going to happen next sometimes. Like we want predictability, we want consistency and things that happen because that's the easy button. Reality is like life is not an easy button. Life is continually having to deal with uncertainty and not knowing what's going to happen potentially in the next moment. Even if we prepare as hard as we can for that moment, it's not usually going to go in the way that we want it to. And sometimes it goes a little bit better. Sometimes it goes exactly how we thought. Sometimes it goes a little bit worse. But can you expound a little bit on that? Because like, honestly, I've been hearing that so much in so many of the things that I'm digesting.
Yep.
How do you deal with uncertainty? So how have you dealt with that uncertainty? And how would you go about kind of like talking about that with the kids that are listening to this episode here?
Yeah. I don't think life would be fun without uncertainty, to be honest. I think, the way I deal with it, like I kind of have a mental Rolodex in my head and I'm kind of, always trying to think of different ways to prioritize different things or, kind of categorize, whatever it may be. But I think it's extremely vital. I really preach, and I don't even think preach is the right word, but live by the idea of no bad days. And, I've been blessed since I was 18 years old and hit the boards that, when I woke up, I've learned that the idea of no bad days. And I don't say this, lightly. I say it because every single day has at least one good moment. I was just listening to a podcast the other day and this guy talks about, the day in minutes, and if you call it, it's, ballpark, say hypothetically you have 1,000 minutes a day, productive minutes. And, you have a bad moment or you have a bad meeting or you have a bad practice. Well, now you still have 900, say that meeting's, 10 minutes. And now you still have 990 minutes of your day. So like, what are you going to do with that? Like, are you just going to toss away the 990 minutes because of those bad 10? Like, no, you're going to utilize those to your best of your ability. And I think that is my mentality of it is at the end of each day, it's a quick second of reflection. And, I have a strong faith and, I lean heavily on my faith, but it's a quick reflection to find that good moment, to find that idea of, hey, even some days that good moment, those good 10 minutes could have been just getting out of bed, getting in my wheelchair, starting my day. Or maybe it was a big, achievement at PT, or it was a great conversation, or it was, I can already tell you this is a good moment and it's only, 10:30 in the morning. So it's already a good day. Yeah, exactly.
Let's go, baby.
Exactly. But like, I think it's when you can have that shift of perspective and be able to, it's easy to say it, it's one thing to live it. And you're able to deal with uncertainty much better. And you're able to really kind of soak in the idea that, hey, I may not know where this journey's going, but why the hell am I not going to dive in? If it's, I think it's the same thing in the youth hockey level of like, hey, I didn't know when I joined the Worcester Junior Sharks when I was young, where that was going to go. And now I look back, and some of my best of friends and some of my best of memories, and the way I developed as a hockey player, and my coach is like a second father to me still, from that, like, all that stuff. Yeah, there's uncertainty at the moment, but I think one thing, again, I'm only 23 years old. You guys have years of experience on me.
Whoa, easy. Easy.
I'm just saying, I got to be truthful, But Coach Rice, my parents, like everyone, but at the same time, where I'm at in life, I've realized, hey, what I did at 15 is now I'm seeing now at 23, and what I do now at 23, I'll see why I did it at 28 and 30 or whatever that is. And I think that's what's cool about uncertainty, is what you're doing now to deal with it. You'll see why you did it. And maybe it's in a year, maybe it's in 4 months, maybe it's in a week, maybe it's in 5-10 years. And so I think just diving in and, being kind of fearless to make mistakes, and fearless to take new opportunities, or whatever it may be. And I think that can really help you combat uncertainty.
Buddy, that's so good. And I want to give the floor to Vex here for this too, because like, when we talk about uncertainty, the one thing that you said there that really resonated with me, because I think it holds a lot of people back, is because there's uncertainty, people feel fearful of not jumping and going all into something because of the fear of uncertainty, fear of judgment, fear of failure, whatever it may be. And God, I don't know if there's anything more powerful in life than putting all your chips in, and for the youth hockey parents in there, this does not mean at 8 years old. Let's be age appropriate here. But like, seriously, like I think all three of us at points in our lives have done that, have pushed the chips in and say, this is what I'm going to do. And this is, I'm going to go all in with everything that I have to try and achieve this dream. And that uncertainty of not realizing the dream at the end of the day, I think holds a lot of people back. But the reality is, maybe you're not going to get it. Chances are you're not, because achieving anything great in life is really, really hard. And only a few people, get there. And there's a lot of circumstances that go into that. But I think about like my journey, all I wanted to do is be an NHL hockey player from the time I was really, really young up until I hung my skates up. And I went all in on that. And no, I did not achieve my dream of playing in the NHL. But what is it? You shoot for the moon, and if you don't miss it, or if you miss it, you land amongst the stars, right? So like, good comes from doing that. And so, yeah, man, like if there's uncertainty in your life, but you have a dream, understand that like, that's just a part of it, man. And that's actually going to make you better.
It's so freaking important. I mean, like Toph said, same for me. My goal is play in the NHL, sign with the Bruins in the NHL. And in the summer, going into my first year pro, I fall into the boards head first and lose consciousness and lost memory, and wasn't able to play for between games, was 15 months, think I'm never going to play again, so like, but me attacking my whole life from a kid all the way through that, still pushing through, wound up coming back, like all of those things now back then are the reasons that I have what I have now, like you said. And I think, looking back on my life and my career, like you said here, Jake, like the fastest things that snap me out of a poor me mindset or anything like that is perspective. Like for me, I remember in juniors, like I used to be so nervous to go to practice in juniors because, whatever, your coach yelling at me. I had to fight guys in practice, like for being 1 minute early. They weren't early enough, so I had to fight guys. Like it's just, I was nervous going to practice all the time. And this is so ridiculous, but it's a great example we're talking about. I would literally go to the rink on days where I was like nervous for like what was going to happen in practice. And I'd say to myself, this was like right after 9/11. And I would literally say to myself out loud, look in the mirror sometimes on bad days, be like, I could be in Afghanistan getting shot at right now. Because I was 18 and 19 years old. And I was just like, there's other people in the world that are going over to the Middle East right now that are my age, putting their lives on the line, and I'm going to a hard hockey practice. Shut up, Jeff. Let's go. And the perspective shift would shift me from like a nervous, anxiety-filled ride to the rink to like, bro, there's no bullets coming at me. Like, let's freaking go. Go get on the ice. Whatever happens, go give it your all. And like that, when I started doing that at 18, 19, I just kept on that from that lesson, doing it, in business. I have bad days all the time. I'm running so many things in my company now, and there's bad days. There's a lot of them, but I'm always like, now I'm like, well, what would I have done in hockey? And then the first thing I think of is the Afghanistan thing I used to say to myself. I'm like, I could be in Iraq or Afghanistan getting shot at. Shut up. You lost money on this deal. Figure it out. Go get it back. Let's go. So those perspective shifts, I think, are just so important to getting us back. And then the other part is just realizing, like, you're still here. You're still alive. You got fight left. Like you said, like, let's freaking go. And the sooner that you can shift your mindset from a poor me, why me, nothing good ever happens to anyone in that space. So the quicker that you can just switch your mindset to a perspective shift, I could be here, but I'm here, or, okay, relentless solutions focus. If you're a reader, Jake, I bet you would love that freaking book, man. It changed my life a few years ago when I read it. And it's just like, when I'm in that place, you have 60 seconds to allow yourself to sit with those feelings because they're valid and they're real. But as soon as 60 seconds are over, you have to do one thing that moves the needle, an inch or a mile. It doesn't matter, but just like, I need to move forward from this. And then that gets the ball rolling. You're out of that negative mindset, and now you're off with your day and you're attacking. And like you said, man, it's so valuable. It's so important. And like Toph said, if you live with that mindset, maybe you don't reach your end goal. None of us here are playing in the NHL, right? But we're all doing positive things in the world. We're all helping people. We're all pushing the limits that we can every single day. And we got that from going through the hard times in our life.
Yeah, Jake, let me ask you this, because I want you to add on to this. You just recently gave the commencement speech at Babson for your graduating class, which I think is so cool. And, getting the opportunity to kind of look into that a little bit. There's one line that you had that I wanted to ask you about that really is a lot about what Vex is talking about. And there's kind of two parts to it. You say, love our people fiercely. And when progress feels at its smallest, remember that inches still move you forward. So I want to kind of break that down into two different things. And I want to start with the inches still move you forward thing, because we're on that topic right now, Vex, kind of with what you just said there. You mentioned how I can go through 1,000 hours of paralysis therapy and the needle might move a centimeter. And then I can go through another 1,000 and it might move an inch. And then you might go through another 1,000 and it might move a mountain, So how do you, just kind of with your mindset when you're at therapy every day and you're looking to, the dream at the end of the day is, right, like walk, those kinds of things, but it's just, you don't know when the result is coming. How do you approach, how do you attack? What's your mindset like at therapy every day, understanding that I'm unsure what the amount forward I'm going to be going is today, but even if it's an inch, like, we're going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Vex hit a good spot there on, like, one, I always think to myself how damn blessed I am that I'm here and I can fight it. And, and two, it's like a good friend of mine, Matt Brown, if anyone ever has the chance to read his story, it's unbelievable. He's, a hockey player who was unfortunately, injured playing the game as well. And he's been injured for, 16 years, I believe, like a remarkable human being, like one of the best humans I've ever met. And he said this the other night. We were doing a kind of a round table conversation. And he said, I always think about the what ifs. What if tomorrow's the day that I stand on my own? What if tomorrow's the day that I, take my first step? And then when you think about that, and, it's very cliche to say it, but everyone always says, oh, it's about the journey, not the destination. Like, I truly believe that. Like, as I go through my battle with paralysis and I see the progress visibly, through really those months and years and whatnot, it keeps me going. But then in the back of my head, I think to myself, what if tomorrow's that day that I get that left quad to get a little stronger, or I get that right quad to flex a little better, or, and I've seen the progress I've made visibly, like feeling it. When I got hurt, I couldn't even sit on the edge of a bed. I'd fall right over, because my core was very weak. And, you break it down to the smallest of things, and you have to have that mentality of like, to Vec's point of like, when you're in those bad moments and when you're in those tough moments, having the ability to find a quick way out, I think is so vital. And it's critical in my PT too. Like when you're not seeing the progress, it can mentally be draining a little bit, because you're like, hey, like I'm grinding my ass off. Why am I not seeing this? But to me, it's like, you just got to keep going, and you just got to like, to find those outs. For me, it's call a friend, talk to a family, talk to my parents, listen to music, and honestly exercise. Like I freaking love working out. Like that's when I am mentally not where I want to be, I go and I just work out, like, and then it's a quick reset. And so having that mindset of, I feel like something's coming on right now, like I'm not in the best shape I need to be in. What am I going to do to get out? I think once you do that, it's easier to find those good moments, and it's also easier to compound those inches and really, reach those goals that you want to reach. And, like you said, Toph, like those inches turn into yards, and those yards continue to compound and grow. And next thing you know, you're doing miles. And when that day is that I stand up and walk, no one knows, but I know when that day is. It's not because it's just that random day. It's because of the, thousands and hundreds of thousands of hours prior. And a big motto that I wear two things on my wrist, and no quit, chip away. No quit was kind of attached to me right when I got hurt by a family friend, actually. And then chip away was sent to me by Coach Rice when I was in the hospital. And it's basically the story of the stone cutter. And when things are tough, you go and you look at the stone cutter, and he's pounding away at the stone. And it's not just that final blow that cracks the stone. It's the, hundreds and hundreds prior. And I think that's so true. If you continue to just chip away, and in anything you do in life, and when you reach that idea of whatever your, success or whatever it may be, it's because you've continued to chip away, and it's because you continue to, live with no quit and pound the stone. And so it's definitely kind of, the idea of inches still move you forward. You may not see it, but what if those inches turn into yards tomorrow?
Love that.
Hell yeah, buddy. Hell yeah. Let me ask one question, Jake, because I think this is really important, and I think it's something that more of us need to focus on, because it doesn't matter. You're in a wheelchair, you're not in a wheelchair, good day, bad day, rich, poor. Everybody has those feelings of, I'm having a bad day. And I think everything we're talking about, using perspective, being where your feet are, like all these things are really important. But the first step, I think, for like mental health stuff is realizing that you're in that place where you need to flip the switch. So is there anything that you've done to flip the switch quicker? Is there anything you say to yourself immediately? Is there anything you've done where you're like, I'm starting to feel like I'm getting to a negative headspace? And then do you have a ritual or anything that do you look at the bracelet and that snaps you out? Do you take 10 deep breaths? Because I think we need to get more people to learn how valuable it is to, one, recognize not in the best headspace right now. And then two, what do I do immediately to get to a better headspace and then take action, which leads to the inch or the yard or the mile?
Yeah. It's funny. Like when you rolled into my dorm room at Babson, I lived with 4 of my teammates. We'd have our rules of the room, and some of them are jokes that I definitely won't say here, but one of them was no bad. The number one rule was no bad energy. And to your point, Vex, like I think when you surround yourself with people who are like-minded, they call you out when they feel that you have those moments. So like when you may not feel like you're in that moment or that negative space, like, my parents joke about it, but like they'll call me like, Jake, your energy's horrible. What's going on? And then you flip that switch. Like, even to my friends, like, they probably get annoyed with me sometimes. So I'll be like, dude, what the frick? Your energy's horrible. Like, and it's that idea of like being able to get called out and being able to reciprocate that and call people out and be honest. And like, I think personally, like, that's who I want around me. Like, I want people to hold me accountable and realize that, hey, like, it kind of that tough love of, you need to be better. Go get yourself out. Do what you need to get yourself to the best version you can. But at the times where maybe there's not people around, I think for me, it's kind of that mindset of like, hey, like, maybe I don't know if motivate is the word, but maybe I'm just a little less kind of energetic towards situations. I feel that within myself. And that's when I'll, take those breaths, listen to that song, call that friend, go on the ski erg and get the heart rate up or whatever it may be. Like, that's when I start to flip my switch personally.
Hell yeah, dude. I think it's so important to have, maybe it's not a routine, but like, at least for me, I'm a routine oriented person. When I'm in a routine, I am my best, being predictable helps me, having predictable, ness in my day allows me to have freedom in other ways, if you know what I'm saying. And so like, for me, it's like music, or I know it's hilarious. Like I'll literally go on YouTube and type in like motivational speech.
Yeah.
Like, some people like chirp me for that. I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like, I know that I'm not in the best headspace for what I'm going to go do right now. And it's up to me to find a way to flip my headspace. And usually for me, I love music and I have specific songs that I will try to only listen to when I like really need to like dig deep and pull myself out of something. And something simple as there's days where I wake up and like, I just, don't feel great or whatever. And like the first thing I'm doing is putting on like something motivational on YouTube while I'm in the shower and listening to it and closing my eyes and thinking about the person that I want to show up for everybody else and, myself the rest of the day. And I think some people like get embarrassed by that type of stuff, or like, what do you do? But it's like, dude, finding a way to snap out of it and get yourself to a better space is maybe one of the most important things you can do to have productive days. And then like you're happier too. You don't wallow in that self-pity, because we know that gets you nowhere. Doesn't matter if you're trying to be a hockey player, you're trying to beat paralysis right now, temporary paralysis, let's freaking call it, right? Like, it doesn't matter what you're trying to beat. You've got to find a way to snap out of it,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like, negativity is contagious, it's infectious. And, whatever you bring into an environment, like a locker room, whatever it is, like, people feel that. And so whatever it is that makes you your best version of yourself for that day or that moment or that hour or that game or that practice, do it, because you want to be that person people want to be around, and you want to be the change for others. And I think Bex, you hit the nail on the head again. Like, it's you want to be a good energy person ready to go and be a positive influence on the group.
Bex, you're on fire, just on fire. Jeez, the guy's on fire. So Jake, I like, we've been doing this podcast now for close to 8 years. And whenever we have high achieving people on, two things always come up. And this is when I do my, team building and motivational speaking, I talk about these two things first. And this is why, because it always comes up. And that is, high achievers have an insane amount of resilience and just a different way of looking at adversity and choosing to see the hard as an opportunity. Like, that is one thing. And then the other thing is they always talk about somebody who believed in them, the people that they surrounded themselves with, and kind of what you were saying, how energy is contagious. We're big believers that you are the byproduct of the people that you surround yourself with. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to mention a few guys because, the hockey world is very small and some of the people that you're very tight with are people that I know very well too. And I want to start with Paul Canada. So Paul Canada was your coach at Milton. If you're in the Boston or Massachusetts area, you absolutely know who Paul Canada is. He's a legend. And just a quick little story before I ask you about him, but this is where like I think just a perspective shift for parents or kids or even especially coaches. So I'm coaching at Cornell. Jake, I think I told you this story. I'm coaching at Cornell and I come to watch Milton play. This is, I don't know, 2012, 13, somewhere in that range. And there's this kid that was pretty skilled out on the ice. And so, I go to Paul and I say, hey, Paul, like this kid, like he had a good game, scored a couple goals, like all these kinds of things. So I ask him about him and Paul looks me dead in the eye and he goes, Toph, if I recommend this kid to you, your coach, Mike Schaefer, will kill you if you bring him to campus. And then what he's going to do is he's going to drive out here to Milton and he's going to kill me for recommending this kid to you guys. And it was just so funny because it was so refreshing as a college recruiter because like so many people try to sell every kid that they have, and you don't really earn trust from people by doing that. But like to all the coaches out there, like I'm going to listen to Paul Canada when he's telling me about a kid that he's coaching in Milton, because like if he's going to tell me the truth and he's going to tell me this kid is not the right fit for our program, and the kid he's a skilled kid who didn't end up doing much in hockey, probably because of all those intangible things that Paul was telling me about. But like the next kid, right? The next kid that I ask him about, if he gives that kid a very glowing recommendation, I'm going to take that to heart, man. And like by being honest, I'll never forget that. If you take this kid back to your school, your coach will kill you. And then he will drive out here and he will kill me. But you were obviously at Milton at the time of your injury. Can you talk a little bit about the type of support you got from Paul then? And I know even until today too. Yeah.
I mean, you're spot on. He is one of the most honest human beings. He'll tell you exactly how it is. And that's what's so great about him. And, I still talk to him often. We try to catch up once a month. And, obviously his time at Milton, he left a crazy, great mark on that campus and this, that hockey program, and brought that hockey program to a level that it's never seen. And I was blessed to play for him. And, I that's what I love about a coach is honesty. Like I want to know, I go back to that when I asked him, hey, how can I be a better contributor to the team? Like he was honest with me and what he saw. And, I think he's also big on great people. He's also big on, if you come in and you're a great representation of what he feels as a Milton hockey player, he's gonna vouch for you. He wants you to succeed. He wants you to go reach your goals. But it's not just by being, a skilled D-man or a skilled forward or a goal scorer or, the best power play guy. Like, no, like it's just as important off the ice. He wants to, grow and really vouch for good humans. And I saw that in my 3 years with him. Like there were guys that he would do anything for because he believed in them. And so when I got injured, him and multiple people at Milton, Paul, the head of school, and then my advisor, Patrick Owens, who, is still, I talk to him every week, probably. Those are three that really stand out, but everyone at Milton was just unbelievable. Like literally tearing down walls, doing whatever they could to support my family and I. My advisor and Todd Bland, who was the head of school at Milton at the time, literally pulled up in a boat down the Mystic River right to the hospital I was at just to like hold up a sign and cheer me up a little bit. That's who those people were and are. I shouldn't say were, but really are. And, Canada is, he's one of the best. Like how it all kind of fell into place with me getting to Milton and, a very unorthodox path. He'll tell you that. Like I did not, prep school was not in my family and I's kind of realm. Like we live not too far from Cushing Academy. I have some friends that went to Cushing. I grew up, knowing what Cushing was, but didn't really know what prep school really was. And, Then when my brother, had that opportunity to go play basketball at Milton for a couple years, and I saw that environment, and financially, it wasn't really in the realm as well, but the stars aligned. And when I got to Milton, Coach Kanata was just one of the most supporting people, and he still is that way. If I call him and say, hey, Coach, I really could use some help here, even just to shoot the breeze. Him and I have actually a couple of talks. We've gone on road trips together now, and you can picture those are some funny car rides. He could tell you how to get from downtown Boston to Holderness without a GPS, and that's pretty impressive. And they'll tell you every single story in between the ride from there to Holderness or whatever it was. But he's a great human, and I think Toph, you hit it on as well. You're really a product of who you surround yourself with, and Kanata really made sure that Milton was good people and good hockey players, and like-minded individuals that really wanted to be, as we mentioned to start, be part of something greater than ourselves. And I'm just extremely blessed that my journey crossed with him, and it's now crossed for life, and I'll be connected to that guy for life.
Awesome. Love that. The last guy I wanted to ask you about is Jamie Rice. And so we've had Jamie on the pod. Gosh, we should get Paul on the podcast here too at some point.
Yes.
But we had Jamie on, and the hockey world is a small world. The Boston hockey world's a very small world. But I don't know, Jake, if there's a more just genuine and well-liked person in the hockey world than Jamie Rice. He is just, when you put perfect human, great human being in a dictionary, Jamie's face probably comes up there. He's just just an awesome dude. And I didn't even realize this until kind of looking into it a couple days ago, but man, you visited Babson less than a week before he got hurt. And then Jamie goes to bat for you and says, we want this kid as a part of our program afterwards. And you end up going to Babson. You already mentioned best 4 years of your life, all that kind of stuff. Talk to us a little bit about the kind of mentor that Jamie's been for you, and just kind of what he's done to help you live out your dreams, even though your dreams today are a lot different than what they were, when you were growing up.
Yeah. I think it's, as we've talked about, it's pretty ironic when you look back on it and you see Coach Kanata and Coach Rice are great friends, really tight friends. And, it's pretty funny that, I'm extremely blessed that I got to experience both those guys, and they're going to be really, they'll both be at my wedding. They'll both be at they're going to be major. I said to my parents, if whenever I meet my wife, if she's okay with it, I'd love Rice to marry us. So,
nice. Wow. Hello.
Yeah. We'll see. He hasn't heard that yet, but we'll see.
Well, you just announced it to the world. So
yeah, exactly. Well, now, no, he's, Coach Rice. I'll never forget that day that I sat in that locker room and talked to him as a hockey player, but I'll never forget the day when I sat in my hospital room just, a short couple of weeks later, and he came to visit me, and I talked to him more as just, as a person and as a friend. And, Coach sent me a text a couple of days back about, I don't recall the exact quote, but it was just something about only if you could kind of know in the moment of what stuff's going to come. And it was kind of alluding to that. And I said to him, I sent back, it's crazy to think the moments we've had in 4 years since the picture. He sent me a picture of him and I in the hospital. And I said, since that picture, it's crazy to think of the moments we've had together. I think when you think of Coach Rice, you think of someone that doesn't want to just develop hockey players, but wants to develop humans. And he said that to me when I sat in the locker room. He said it to my dad and I, I'm not just going to make Jake a good hockey player and have him be part of a winning program and, meet great people and come to an unbelievable school. I'm going to make him go and eventually be a good dad, eventually be a good husband, eventually be a good, And you see that, like you go back to an alumni game at Babson and there's 50 guys on the ice, and you don't see that many places. You know what I mean? And that's a testament to Coach Rice. Like, he has created a program that people just want to be a part of. And he is by far one of the most humble human beings I know. And he will not take any credit. And, you know, I literally just got off the phone with him before we hopped on today. And he, you know, had mentioned, he's like, oh, I heard you're hopping on with the guys. And he said, I'm just grateful that two, you know, he didn't mention you, Vex, but we'll call it three. He's like, three, you know, he's great people are connecting. And I said, yeah, well, that's because of you, Coach. And he's like, no. But that's who he is. He's a connector of great people. And he is a connector of, you know, growing people. And he really just, you know, he changed my life. And he'll deny that and he'll say, no way. But he truly changed my life. And he gave me an opportunity. You know, I think sometimes people think, not everyone, but sometimes people think hockey took a lot away from me. And it gave me more than it's ever taken. And whether that's in lessons and values, and, you know, I could go on and on. And a large part of that is Coach Rice. He gave me, you know, best friends and brothers, and that I'm going to, you know, be together for life and celebrate, you know, milestones in life and be there for hardships of life. And then he, you know, he's family to me now, and he's given me so many, you know, great opportunities, but also so many great lessons. And, you know, I joke, but sometimes when I go speak at different places and to different groups, I feel like I'm just giving a Jamie Rice talk, because I've learned so much from him, you know, and I try to soak in as much as I can. And I think it's so vital to share some of the stuff he's taught me in this world, and the lessons he's taught me. And damn, am I going to miss seeing him as much as I, you know, have gotten to over the 4 years. But once you're part of Babson hockey, you're part of it for life. And I think that's what's so special about that place is, you know, there's a great deal of pride to be a part of Babson hockey. And even though I never laced up the skates in 4 years, and, you know, with the new rule, who knows, but I was joking that I still have my eligibility. But you know, I can confidently say, like, I feel like I played college hockey. And, you know, often I got asked, like, oh, what's your role on the team and this and that. And I got to just say, hey, I was a teammate. Like, Coach Rice made sure that I was involved in everything. You know, when I rolled in the locker room, the guys were busting my balls and I'm, you know, busting theirs. And we're laughing and, you know, making great memories. And I went to every game I could. I traveled with the team. You know, and a large part of that is because of Coach Rice. And also, like, I can't say enough about my teammates, like, just, you know, especially my roommates that, you know, were there every step of the way. Like, I think, you know, it's so vital. Like, you know, I take pride in being an independent person, and I did prior to my injury, but unfortunately there's certain things I can't do. You know, I joke, but if the peanut butter's on the top shelf, like, definitely can't reach that now, you know, but
me neither, Jake. I can't reach peanut butter on the top shelf either. So
hey, I got some. I'll send one your way. I got some like, you know, the grabber thing, so you can reach up and grab. No, so, you know, all kidding aside, like, those guys just, you know, they're the best, and I'm forever blessed that I had that opportunity to go to Babson and connect with Coach Rice. And, you know, him and I talk every week, and if not multiple times a week. And he actually he comes in when he can to see my therapy and give me that little push. And he is a remarkable human. And to say that I got to, you know, play for Kevin Lizotte, who was my longtime youth coach, and then Paul Canada and Jamie Rice, like, I was one lucky human being. I don't know if lucky's a word, but very blessed human being, you know, in my hockey career.
Awesome, man. Well, last thing I have for you, I wanted to ask you, you sit on the board of the Thomas E. Smith Foundation, raising money for, you know, people with paralysis. talk a little bit about what that foundation has meant to you, and just kind of what people can potentially do to support, an initiative that obviously hits home very, very closely to you and many other people, around the US.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, though. It's Tom Smith he's a great friend to me. He's practically family as well, and he was, him and his foundation right when I got injured, and practically the moment I hit those boards, it was like they were there right away. And he's been a pioneer, kind of really keeping the movement going that Trav and the Travis Roy Foundation, started. And he's now, the foundation's just maybe 16 years old, and it's really starting to grow to a national level. And I think the biggest thing about paralysis and spinal cord specific injuries is it's, in the scheme of things, it's a small population, and really just growing awareness around it. And seeing what people, I'm extremely blessed. I still can live independently and feed myself and drive a car, go to the bathroom on my own. But there's a lot of people that unfortunately maybe can't do that right now. And trying to be the voice for others and fight for research and progress within paralysis, but also in the meantime financially be able to support others in living their own independent lives, and giving them, providing them with the equipment necessary for doing that, whether it's, a shower chair for, being able to shower, or bathroom renovations, or ramps, or standing frames, or, a lot of physical therapy is not covered by insurance, really not much at all if you want to go to these aggressive paralysis kind of centers. And so being able to help individuals get to those. And I say it often to people who are recently injured, but also maybe some years out, is the paralysis world is not one you want to be a part of, but when you're a part of it, it's one of the tightest communities. And us three know, like, I'm biased, but there's nothing like the hockey community. But the paralysis world is right up there. We all want each other to do good, and we all want each other to be better, and we strive to help each other every day. The Thomas E. Smith Foundation, I'm very blessed to be involved and volunteer and try to move that needle forward a little bit as best as I can.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, hey, Jake, this has been quite the conversation, man. This is awesome. And I know you're doing a lot of speaking engagements outside and telling your story to, a lot of people in the hockey world and outside of it, in the academic world too. So God, if your speech is anything like what we just experienced here today, like, absolutely killing it. And honestly, guys, like, if you, for everybody that's listening, whether you're a parent of a kid in a youth organization, or you're running a youth organization, or you're a coach of a team, like, and you think that Jake's message would benefit like your kids, let me know, and we can help put you in touch, because like this has been awesome, man. So Jake, we appreciate your time. We're going to keep you for another couple minutes to do our 10 questions. That'll be in our Hockey Think Tank U community. But man, so much fun being able to talk to you here today. So inspiring. And we just really appreciate your time, man, and who you are.
I can't thank you guys enough for having me on. And as I always say, once you enter my journey, I enter yours for life. So proud to be connected with you guys. Thank you.
Love it. It all comes down to this: a best-of-7 battle, and DraftKings has you covered every step of the way. The DraftKings Sportsbook app is now available in all 50 states and includes all markets. Sweat every shift of the series, all in one place with one app. New DraftKings customers sign up with code THPN, spend $5 to get $200 in rewards within 21 days. That's code THPN. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Bet with DK Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas. Bet text pass through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Void in Ontario. Event contract trading with DraftKings predictions involves risk of loss. Sportsbook bonus bets expire in 7 days. $50 in predictions dollars issued weekly for 3 weeks, expire in 1 year. Redeem one non-withdrawable reward. Availability varies. Predictions offer void in New York. Ends June 28. Terms at dkng.co/audio.